Okay, here is the link for memorizing Super Tree Stump. That is rather odd of how John named the podcast, but I'm going to come in here and let's go now. Oh, give me a frickin' break. Barnaby, what are you doing here?
Oh, Greg! I see you're falling into my booby trap because I found John's phone at the Dunkin' Coffee and I took his invitation and I mailed it to myself and then I mailed it to you just so I could have you on here with me.
For me, it is actually always nice to see you, Barnaby. But I find it a little ironic, probably isn't the word, that you detest me so much, but yet you always find ways to contact me, which is very odd. But hey, what's up, Barnaby? What can I do for you this evening?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what you can do for me, and that's never do a podcast again because you're
Okay, valid. But
terrible.
you also don't have to listen to any podcast I'm on.
You know, you're so closely related in the podcast world with John that I don't have a choice sometimes. You know, I'll tell you though, the last one where he did the Super Bro, and it
Oh
was
yeah, with Kyle Bain. Yeah, they did the Mr. Mixoplex debut.
Greg. If there's one thing that I cannot stand about you, is that you pronounce nothing correctly. It's Mix Yes Tipolik. Now,
Sorry about that.
as is my understanding, you are doing a Super Tree Stump memorizing.
I am doing a podcast with John because Terence Stamp unfortunately passed on, and we're going to do a tribute to him by talking about Superman 2. That is correct.
Amazing Stupendo as well.
Sure.
Okay, well, this had better be the last time I ever have to hear your terrible grating voice on a podcast. Seriously, I've never heard a voice like that.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty grating.
I am in 100% argument about your terrible grating voice. Let me run you through my day because I went down to my kitchen and I got the Rooster cereal out of the cabinet and I'm pouring the milk in, the Delwood milk, and I turn on the podcast and it's like I'm listening to Star Wars The Undercooked Pancake all my life because I'm supposed to hear John, but I hear Greg, and it's Greg all the time, and it's terrible.
I always was wondering, Barnaby. I would actually be pretty honored if you do this. When you go to the restroom, do you say, "I am going to go take a Greg"?
Do I say I'm going to take a Greg? No, even the most vile, disgusting things that come out of a person's body don't deserve to be called a Greg.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Barnaby, this has been great as usual, but I have to get into the actual invite that I just received from John for the Terence Stamp Memorial. And it was been great talking to you as always, but I do have a feeling I will probably see you again soon.
Oh my God. What a terrible thought to see Greg again. Again. Why do I do this to myself? I keep talking to you on purpose. So Greg has just had an adventure. He was just fooled by Barnaby Bathcloth, who was masquerading as me just to get him on a Zoom meeting. I don't know. That guy's crazy. He's
I
out of his.
I hope I never see him again in the next couple of podcasts I do, but you never know. I hope I
I'm
don't have to edit any other podcast to make it like I just talked to him, but that shouldn't happen.
no. Of course not. Of
Yeah,
course not.
yeah, yeah,
We are so not talking about a conversation that hasn't happened yet at all.
yeah. And we're not
Clearly,
we're not talking about anything that's fictional either.
no, of course not. I will also say this: if you are ever at a what he refers to as Dunkin' Coffee, it's a very
Yeah.
odd thing, very odd trope that he has. He's like, if you're at a Dunkin' Coffee, he seems to hang out there a lot.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, take all of your stuff with you because he will break into your phone. I don't know, he figures shit out. So,
Yeah, the guy's a psycho.
all right. This was Greg's idea. Uh the
Because I'm
beloved
heartbroken.
Yes,
Yeah.
Greg is heartbroken, as are we all. The beloved Terence Stamp, who portrayed General Zod in Superman and Superman 2. It's 1978 and 1980, I believe, were the years of those two movies. Cameoed in the first movie and played the main villain in the second movie, joined by Ursa and who's the other guy? What's his name?
Non.
Non?
Non?
No,
Oh
non.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
like the bread, but
like
spelled
he's
different.
right. So anyway, um this this particular episode can serve as a tribute to Terence Stamp, but a tribute to the three main roles in Superman 2. You know, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, and Terence Stamp. The three roles, the three main
And Gene
roles,
Hackman.
and
And
Gene
Gene Hackman.
Hackman, and Gene
Yeah.
Hackman. That's just, so we're all, hey, I was gonna make espresso.
Sir,
And
I'm having coffee right here. Throw in Ned Beatty too, because they're all gone.
yes. Well, Ned Beatty was only in the beginning. I was actually kind of disappointed
Of
when
this film, yes.
in
Yes.
this film.
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed when he didn't make it onto the hot air balloon and then was never seen again. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
He's such a good character. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, as you may or may not know, Terence Stamp, who portrayed General Zod in Superman and Superman 2, has passed away quite recently. It was only like a couple of days ago. What was it, like August 17th? Greg sent me a voicemail saying maybe we can do an hour of comics episode about the first appearance of General Zod. I found the first appearance of General Zod and I said, this is not an entertaining episode in any way, shape, or form. So I said, look, read it because it's like 11 pages, but we should watch the movie Superman 2 just so we can have something to talk about. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing that Terence Stamp has ever been in. So here to talk.
Well, I mean, for me, he's in.
I'm sorry, I was saying here to talk about the tribute to Terence Stamp
Oh.
are
Oh.
Greg, the one who commissioned the episode. It was your idea. So welcome, Greg. How are
Yeah.
you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm great. I'm
All
great.
right. And the other
Yeah.
one is Ken Radner. Hi, Ken Radner.
Hello, everybody.
He calls himself Neil before Radner. That's the way that
Yes.
goes.
Yes.
And conspicuously missing from the panel is Jason Gurin, who most unfortunately had a last-minute family emergency and is not able to participate in the discussion. But he is sorely missed, and he will, at one point or another, end up on a non-comic podcast. It will happen. I mean, my podcast. I know he's already been on Star Trek.
Yeah.
but
We're actually
yes.
on the Lamb Chops podcast right now, if I'm not mistaken.
That is
And
correct. Yes.
is this the first episode of the new approach to that podcast?
Retrospectively, no. I don't know how to complete that sentence. I should say retrospectively, episodes that I've released as Bullshit Hour have now been correctly categorized as this podcast is Lamb Chops. And the reason for that is because the picture that I used to release this podcast as Lamb Chops got lost somewhere. So I was just saying, okay, fine, it'll be Bullshit Hour. I have gone and corrected that. This is the first one that will be using the picture when it's first released.
Fair enough.
Since the
Fair
format
enough.
change.
And
Yes. Mhm.
I am your data entry guy for IMDb. And today, folks, let's congratulate John. This is, as a whole, the 50th episode of Bullshit Hour / Lamb Chops. It's the 50th episode, episode
Right.
50. Congratulations, John.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
This
Yeah.
podcast is Lamb Chops is a subsidiary, of course, of Bullshit Hour, so it's all on the same platform. So yeah, several. I would say a good number of episodes have been released as this podcast is Lamb Chops, but altogether, yes, it's been 50. So thanks for being a part of that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay, we are here to talk about Superman 2, the movie. So, I don't like to say bad things, because it's a good movie, especially it was a good movie for the time. I thought it was kind of rough to watch. Zod was good when he was on screen. Everyone else is sort of like, I'm not sure if the acting is bad or if the direction makes the acting bad, but this is, I guess, how they did superhero movies in the 80s. So allow me to say what the movie actually is. The movie starts, we find General Zod and his two hench people, Ursa and Nan. They get sentenced to the Phantom Zone for, I think, some very long amount of time. And they're like, no, I don't want to go to the Phantom Zone. So they show them in the Phantom Zone, and Superman, he goes to Paris to save Lois Lane's life because look, these were characters in a superhero movie. Lois Lane was a complete moron for latching herself onto the bottom of that elevator because let's be honest here, if Superman hadn't come along, she would have gotten blown to bits. She's not just sort of like, oh, yeah, this is a little dangerous, but, it's worth it for the story. She would have been dead if Clark Kent hadn't talked to the boss and then said, I'm going to go to Paris to save Lois Lane's life. If it wasn't Lois Lane, he wouldn't have even known about it, and the Eiffel Tower would have blown up. How do you like that? Right? Anyway, so what happens is he pushes the elevator that has the bomb strapped to it into outer space, which causes this ripple to break our villains free of the Phantom Zone. And I don't want to get into too much detail, but I do feel compelled to say this. Hollywood in 1980 designed a set to look like the moon the way that it did in the movies. And people say that the moon looked fake in 1969 or whatever. And it's like, these two things look completely different. This was Hollywood for 5 minutes, spent however many millions of dollars on this set. That's for a different discussion altogether, though, isn't it? So let's fast forward a little bit. Clark Kent and Lois Lane are at Niagara Falls. Clark Kent's glasses get a little misty from the waterfall, so he takes them off. Lois Lane catches a glimpse of him without his glasses on, and she's like, hey, wait a minute. You look like Superman. Never would have thought that before. The voice, the face, the body, whatever, nothing else clued her in until he took his glasses off, because apparently that's something he has never done in front of Lois Lane. In what?
Well, because he's wearing hypno glasses. You don't remember that?
That was retrofitted
that was the thing
into
that they did in the movie.
Into the new movie. They didn't have that idea yet. That's why Lois Lane was able to wait a minute.
Yep.
So she's like, I'm so sure you're Superman. I'm going to jump off this thing. And Clark Kent apparently held more value in protecting his identity than he did in saving Lois Lane's life. So he was like, oh, there's a tree branch that I'm going to cut down with my laser vision. Comes down.
Yeah. What happened? I guess the forgetful kiss wasn't going to work anymore.
No, not at all. Well, you know what? You would be excellent at CinemaSins. So, sorry, I know I said I wasn't going to spend too much time on this, but there's so many details in this movie that were just absurd. So so she's like, "Oh, I can't believe I ever thought you were Superman." Then they go back to the hotel, and Clark trips and puts his hand in the fire, and she goes, "Your hand didn't burn. You are Superman." Like, and then he goes, "You know what? Fine. I'm Superman. Okay? Are you happy? Let's talk." So, um, meanwhile, Lex Luthor and his henchmen are escaping from prison. It almost feels like it's not even important to the story, but it pays off at the end of the movie. So, okay, fine. They break out of prison. Lex Luthor gets out. He finds Superman's, whatever you call that thing, Fortress of Solitude. And so they see a message that was given by his mother,
Yeah.
which now the continuity between the first movie and the second movie, because of the different directors, um, is ridiculous, which I will bring up a little bit later about the whole mother and father thing that he's communicating with. So anyway, what am I doing here? Superman takes Lois Lane to his Fortress of Solitude, makes her dinner, says, "How about we give the orange juice a rest for once and we'll have champagne instead?" I don't know. That's not important to the story. It's just a funny thing to say. Um, then he talks to his mother and says, "I must give up my powers because I love Lois Lane." He goes into this little weird microwave thing. He comes out with no powers. Didn't even discuss it with Lois. And Greg, I was talking with you about this before. I'm going to say it again. Clark Kent, and you said, okay, it's not who he really is. It's not like whatever his true self. But Clark Kent and what Clark Kent possesses is not his true identity. So he sacrifices all of his powers for Lois Lane when it's like, what's even the point of doing that? Like you're Superman. That's who you are. You're Bell. Yeah. So you came from this planet. I love you. Great. That's the real me. So anyway, he gives up his powers. Lois and Clark have sex on this. It looks like a really comfortable bed. Like it's like a giant puffy silver bed. I'm like, that thing is amazing. I want that bed. So
I always wanted those sheets.
the
I
sheets,
always
the
wanted
bed,
those sheets as a kid.
they go to a diner. I want a hamburger. Or I want this. I want that. Oh, let me decide what I want. This creepy old guy sits next to Lois Lane. She's like, "Oh no, someone's sitting there." And he goes, "Yeah, I am." Clark Kent comes out. He goes, "Excuse me, but I'm going to have to teach you some manners." I guess completely forgetting that he didn't have powers anymore. So he's like, "Let's step outside." Walks away. The guy smacks him in the back of the head, which like knocks him through the glass door. And I'm like, "Damn, that guy packs a powerful punch for like a 90-year-old." That was crazy. So anyway, yeah, all this weird shit happens. Then, just to calm people down, the owner of the diner turns the TV on, and who do we see but General Zod and his henchmen? I'm sorry, no, it's the president saying, "I will succumb to General Zod because he is the official ruler of blah, 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 blah." Juror number 4 from 12 Angry Men. Great job as the president of the United States. Couldn't have asked for anything better. So, anyway, now General Zod and
E.G. Marshall, right?
E.G. Marshall, that's the one,
Marshall.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. He says, "I will relinquish all power to General Zod to save lives of millions of people." Clark Kent says, "Damn, why did I give up my powers? I got to go get my powers back." Lois Lane says, "But you can't. You can't get your powers back. What are you talking about?" He goes, "I got to try." So he's walking up with his spring jacket, his fucking spring jacket. It's like, look, no one would fault you if you went home and got a winter jacket, to make the walk, because I guess you don't have a car. You can't take a flight to the north. Like, I don't. So he's walking, right? The Mack truck passes him by. He's like, "Come on, I need a ride to the North Pole." Finally, he gets to the North Pole. And this is where the continuity error really destroyed my life. He's been talking to his mother, in the beginning of the movie. He comes back and he goes, "Father, I need to talk to you." What happened to his mother? I thought he was talking to his mother. "Father, please, Father, I want to talk to you." Right? It was father. I'm not going out of my mind. What?
Probably. Well, that had a lot
Yeah.
to do with Lester and Donner
Yeah,
switching places, probably. The
exactly
two
right.
different cuts of
Mhm.
the movie.
So what happens is he gets to the Fortress of Solitude, tries to talk to his father, because of the different directors, he's talking to different parents who had been dealing with the mother. Now he wants to talk to his father, and it's like, hey, Marlon Brando, where's Marlon Brando? He's not here. Now it's the other lady. She's English, he's American. I don't know, like it's like Earth. Krypton is like Earth, where they have all the English and American accents. So um so he finds this like glowing whatever stick, which I don't know what the significance of that was. I have no idea, but he looks at it, he picks it up, and he looks like surprised. Ken?
Yeah, well, the first two movies, he always had these kind of like energy crystal things
Mm-hmm.
that they were laid in the first movie. I think they show it when when Kal-El, Clark's Kryptonian mom is
Mm-hmm.
putting him in that, cocoon dandelion looking thing that they're going to launch him out in. She's laying down these different like energy crystals
Mm-hmm.
into the hull of the ship.
I see.
And I think she even leaves one or two of them inside the ship with him. Like she wraps it up next to the swaddling that he's in. So there's supposed to be some kind of power source, remnant of Krypton.
Okay.
They build the Fortress of Solitude. And then when he gets his powers taken away, doesn't the whole Fortress of Solitude self destruct?
Does it?
Doesn't it all blow up when he's done with that? And then I
I,
think he gets that crystal, and sometimes he gets pissed off and he throws it. Oh no, that was probably the first movie where he's got
oh,
the crystal, doesn't do anything, and he's younger. He throws it, and then it builds the Fortress of Solitude. But
I
I
see.
think this is he finds one last crystal, and
Mhm.
that kind of like regenerates the whole thing, so he
I
can get his
see.
powers back. But
Yeah,
that's what that little light stick thing is. It was green, right?
I don't remember. I just remember that it was glowing. It
Because there are
was-
white ones and there are green
Yeah,
ones, and I think the green one was like the
I was.
master
I'm
control
always
one.
fascinated by Superman that pieces of his planet can make him weak. I understand why that is, because he's powerful on Earth
Right.
because he's getting the planet. Yet at the some time, sometimes he needs pieces of kryptonite to save him. So it's whatever suits the story.
Well, I don't know if I would say that that's kryptonite.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like there are things on Earth, like I should not drink turpentine on Earth, but if I drink orange juice, it'll be fine for me. There's all different sorts of things. Just because it's my own planet doesn't mean it's good for me. Anyway, um,
All right, call me out like that. Why don't
I, I think I will. I will call you out because it suits me. So anyway, so where was I? Yes. Oh yes, Superman. Well, Clark Kent is now at the Fortress of Solitude. I don't even know how he got there. It's the North Pole. He would need to take a ship or an airplane or something. He can't walk over the like it that doesn't work. So
Yeah, he just walked from Canada. He just walked from Canada. That's
just
it.
walked.
Simple.
Mack truck didn't pick him up, so he just walked. Right. So even though his mother said it can't possibly be reversed, it was reversed almost immediately. Because that's what it was. It's just like, oh, you gave up your power, right? And you knew that you could never possibly get it back. But then once you realized that it was a bad idea, yeah, you had to walk through the blistering cold, but you got back to your Fortress of Solitude and reversed it almost immediately. It seemed like you got there the same day. So anyway, what happens after that? He goes and he confronts uh, General Zod, who, by the way, now I want to do a throwback here to the beginning of the movie and any aerial shots. They don't even try to hide that it's New York City. They show the Statue of Liberty, they show the Twin Towers. I'm like, why? Like, seriously, you couldn't make like a miniature model of a city that doesn't actually exist. You had to use the New York City skyline. So Zod is now crashing into the what do they call it? The star, the building where Clark and Lois work. Now Zod,
Daily Planet.
the Daily Planet. Okay, that's it. It was the Daily Star in the very beginning of the series. Um,
It was. I think the star was. Oh no, that's the Flash. He had
right.
Star Labs. I don't know. There was another. I know there was another paper called the Star or something.
Oh, it could be, but it was the Daily Star. At least in the very first appearance of Superman, it was the Daily Star, not the Daily Planet. So, yeah, they break into the Daily Planet and just destroy the entire building. They're just like throwing machines around and chopping desks in half, and everything is just breaking and just getting completely destroyed. Superman comes in, he goes, for all they do, they still don't know how to use a doorknob. So, you know, they they get into this whole thing. Oh, I remember what it was. It was that Lex Luthor led the bad guys to Superman, right? He made some kind of deal with them, and he's like, "Oh, I'll lead you to Superman," and that's how they knew he was at the Daily Planet. And then he goes, "I know their address." After they're done with all the destruction, they go back to the Fortress of Solitude because that's his address, I guess. It was Lex Luthor finds out from Superman that they there's a thing that they could do to reverse their powers. They say Superman must go into the thing, but little known to them, he reversed the thing and made it so that he'd be protected and everyone outside would lose their powers, and then proceeds to kill them one by one. And then, to stamp the movie, kisses Lois Lane so that she doesn't remember any of what happened. The end, right? Am I leaving out anything important?
Yeah, the cellophane S.
Oh, yes, the cellophane
Yeah.
S.
Yeah.
Right. He goes,
Yes. The
he goes,
Frisbee golf S.
it's like this, which now I remember watching it when I was a kid and thinking, oh, that's a pretty cool thing to do. I watched it just today or yesterday rather, and the Nan was like about to like jump on him. He rips the cellophane S off and throws it at him. And they made fun of this on Family Guy. He goes, "Whoa, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. That was a minor inconvenience. I guess you won." Yes, the cellophane S, very important to the story.
Yep, slowed you down.
Oh, yes. Anyway, so yeah, that was my take on the movie. Uh, it's not now I understand the appeal and I understand why it was popular at the time, and I even understand why it holds up today. It's cheesy, it's goofy, and so the two directors, it was what was it? Lester and the other guy.
Donner.
Donner, yeah, sorry, Jeffrey Donner, right? Yeah, Lester and Donner, who one of them had this like really weird, goofy sense of humor, and the other one was just more of like a straight-laced director. So the movie kind of went back and forth between being very serious and being really goofy. And the scene where the entire city was getting destroyed by their super breath was oddly comedic. It didn't give me yet anyway a sense of, oh, this is a terrible thing. It just felt like they were using the opportunity to have a lot of sight gags. People losing their toupees, people trying to talk on the phone, a guy on roller skates being blown backwards. It didn't feel like anything was being actually like dangerously destroyed, and no one died. All right, so let's open up the floor because I'm sure you've heard me talking enough about the movie. How did Terence Stamp influence this movie and make it the movie that it was? Greg, because this is your thing, let's start with you.
All right. Well, if we want to focus on just Terence Stamp, I mean,
Well,
he
it's,
chewed the scenery.
it's about Terence
Yeah.
Stamp, isn't it? Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well,
but also talk about
and
the whole movie. To just talk about,
well,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, but to start with Terence Stamp, I mean, he's who makes it the movie that he is because he's in a silly movie here, but it wasn't supposed to be, but then it was supposed to be. I mean, the Lester and Donner thing is the entire conflict here. Richard Lester, I think Donner fought with the Salkinds. I think that's what it was about, like something to do with the vision of the film. I don't really remember the conflict, but Richard Donner did the first one. The first one was brilliant, and he started doing the second one. And I think there was a falling out with the Salkinds, and he left the production.
Mhm.
And Christopher Reeve remained extremely professional about the whole thing. But Margot Kidder and Gene Hackman were very, very not happy.
Mhm.
That's the reason Gene Hackman did not do Superman 3, and they replaced him with the generic Ross Webster. That was supposed to be Lex Luthor.
So
And that's the reason why Superman 3.
the scene that you're talking about is, and in the Fortress of Solitude, they showed him from behind, and they had someone who like vaguely sounded like him for a small bit of dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because Gene Hackman did leave the production. As an aside, I saw the Donner cut and it was wonderful. Now, it's been several years already, but it actually just simply cut differently. It is a completely different film. And even right down to it being a different plot. I mean, same plot, but still, the way it ran was, I'm like, I can't believe I just saw a brand new Christopher Reeve Superman movie that I never saw before. I'd be lying if I said I remember the specifics, but it was. I said I can't believe this. It was edited completely differently. It followed a different story. You have more footage with Luthor. If I'm not mistaken, in the Donner cut, also it more played like, yes, Zod is a main antagonist, but not the main antagonist. It really played much more like Luthor was making stuff happen. I mean, we even saw it's very much in this. I'm sorry, in the Donner cut, like Goldmember.
Mm-hmm.
Like Goldmember was the an antagonist, but not the antagonist. It was still Dr. Evil, you know. So yeah, it's silly. This cut is very silly. But again, reasons are because it had to be completely rewritten. You know, Hackman didn't want to film any additional scenes. It was very much a Back to the Future situation where, you know, Stoltz was fired, so they had to reshoot a lot. In this case, Donner himself left, the director, and so they had to do some reshoot. This is why, and Brando, I think, didn't want to appear, didn't want to do Lester stuff. So that's it.
I think,
but if we're putting all of that aside,
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I think the reason Brando wasn't in the second one is because they didn't want to pay the amount of money that it would have cost to have him, so they had the mother talk instead.
well, in the Donner cut, it is him with different footage that I think was maybe filmed during the first movie. Then I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was, and you know, originally it was that part two. It came out a year after. They were shot, I think, at the same time. And Donner was able to finish the first one, and then during the second one, which was during the same shoot, like again a Back to the Future 2 and 3 thing, he had a falling out with the Salkinds, and that was that. But this is all I have to say. I think it's Terence Stamp that makes that movie still iconic today. People still say Planet Houston. People still
Planet
say
Houston was
kneel
great.
before General Zod. Yeah. And in fact, you know, when I posted on social media about how heartbroken I was about Terence Stamp, this is what people were saying. You know, he obviously in the second one, he got more than the first one. The first one was just a cameo to set up for the second one because they were written as two great movies. And yeah, like I said, I think at the top of this, whether or not that made the show or that was during recording for the show, I don't know Terence Stamp from that many more things.
Mhm.
But, his performance in this is just so iconic. And obviously, he took it seriously the whole time. I mean, granted, I don't know how much of his stuff was reshot, but that man in this role, even no matter how silly the movie is, or no matter how unrealistic, obviously, this dialogue is and the situation is, I mean, he is the performance in this film that makes it iconic, and he was iconic. And Michael Shannon is an amazing actor who took the role in Snyder's Man of Steel, and boy was he wonderful. They're both two actors, two completely different characters. I realize that,
Mhm.
but I, Stamp made it iconic, and so iconic that's probably why they chose Zod as the villain for Man of Steel. And as we've discovered, Zod wasn't even much of a villain for the comic books, at
Not
least
not until
for
later.
a long time. And
Not until later.
yeah, and that might have been after the movie. I don't know, but it is his performance that, dare I say this, because he's a Kryptonian villain, grounds the film in the realism. And
Mhm.
I mean, of course, there's other great performances, but we know that Lex Luthor was more of a comical character in these movies. Even the first one,
Yeah.
that was Gene Hackman's creation. It was fine, but the man, because he's taking it seriously as an actor, the audience takes it seriously, and that was the magic of his presence and the magic of just him as an actor in general. But the magic of this movie, I think, rides on Terence Stamp's performance because he believes it, so we believe it. And I saddened that he has passed, but he had a wonderful life. And yeah, he is the reason that Superman 2 even has any redeeming factors. I mean, it's fun, of course, and it has that nostalgia factor. But yeah, best performance in it is Terence Stamp by far.
Uh, Little fun fact. This is actually about Superman 3. The Richard Pryor character was originally supposed to be Mr. Mxyzptlk. And they like
I
logistic
thought Brainiac. I had heard Brainiac. Yeah.
well, I don't know. I mean, it's what I heard was that it's supposed to be but logistically speaking, they were not able to get a convincing looking or acting whatever Mxyzptlk, so he became Richard Pryor in that movie. Um,
Well, and that makes sense. If it was going to be Brainiac, by the way,
yeah.
this is what I heard, that it was Brainiac and that there was just no budget and just no vision to bring Brainiac to life. It just
I
wasn't
see.
working, whatever they were trying.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Either Brainiac or Mxyzptlk. It's just fun to say it. Um, yeah, I so all right. I'm glad I'm not just like kind of standing here by myself saying that I didn't think it was a great movie. It's funny, it's silly, it's goofy, and it almost feels out of place how serious General Zod is in the movie. So um, but he does what he's supposed to do, and he has some lines that are amusing. Oh, be nice, blow them a kiss. Like saying like, "Oh, blow the helicopter away," and why would you say that to me when you know I'm going to kill you for it? That was a fabulous line. I love that line. So he's not without his comedy, but it's very, very subtle in the movie. Not goofy, not slapstick, but he pulls it off and he does it well and he mixes well with the goofy slapstick and I don't know, he makes it work. He makes it work. So that's really cool. Now, Ken, you've been so patient. What did you think of this
Anyway,
movie?
um,
The movie about the things.
okay, so a couple of things that I found out. Actually, the thing I found most interesting, not actually about the movie, but about Terence Stamp,
Hmm.
was in his starting out days, he, Michael Caine, and Peter O'Toole all roomed together in the same apartment. So
Oh,
I cannot even imagine what that must have been like. That must have, I mean, the just the level of parties that those guys must have had must have
And
been crazy. I
homosexual
mean, and this was
experimentation. I couldn't resist. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah,
dear, yes.
yeah. I mean, it's just it just seemed just like the three of them, and also that's the one thing I always find funny, and everybody does this. You see, like an actor or a family member, something like that, at like a certain specific age. That's how you remember them. That's kind of when you have some great memories of them, so that's the age. And then you get to see them when they were like 26, and you see these photos of them. And I saw like some of these early photos of Terence Stamp, and of course these guys were actors, so you look at them, you're like, damn, you were like, how ridiculously handsome were you back when like you were young like that? And then imagine him and Michael Caine and Peter O'Toole all at that top level, of their attractiveness, all living in the same apartment, like in England. I'm just like, my God, it must have been like no one ever slept in that place. But
Yeah.
I found that pretty interesting. And it's always fun when you see that. I think for me, this movie may have solidified that thought in many people's minds, including my own, that when someone refers to themselves in the third person, they're a complete asshole. So
Yes.
because that was all Zod ever did. I don't think he ever used a pronoun. I think it was always just, well, why do you speak to Zod like this? And I'm just like, oh my God.
I don't know. He said
But
he said
and
he said, "Why would you say that to me when you know I'm going to kill you?"
oh, okay,
That's yeah, that's
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
did. But he made a point of, um, he didn't have a title. He
Mhm.
was Zod, you know. So I thought that was kind of fun, and I like how the line is kneel before Zod, but he says it many different ways throughout the movie, which
Right.
I'm wondering if it was actually written in the script that way or he just like used it. Because there was when he's at some of the climactic battles when he's fighting against Superman and he yells and he's like, "Come kneel before," like that. And then he's talking to, I think it might have been the president, or it might have been like just some human, and he's like, "Kneel before Zod." It's just like,
Yeah. Yep.
my
Yep.
little boy, kneel before Zod. Yeah.
All
So,
right.
so that was So that I thought that was kind of fun in the way that he did it. That's something that always sticks with me, is just that authority through which he names himself.
Mhm.
And it's classic villain. You only get, your over the top level villains that do stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I There's not a whole lot to say about Ursa and Nan. I
Mhm.
do like the concept of, and I've always liked this. That's why I like so many, Sentai type, Japanese superhero team stuff, is because there's always like a specific number of people on the team, each one with their thing.
Uh-huh.
So it's, you
Okay.
got the three of them, and Zod is like the strategic leader, and Nan is the muscle, and Ursa is like the femme fatale type. So that's always fun. I always like that type of character interaction. It's always an interesting thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it definitely was silly. I mean, there was, no way to not put that in. One thing you did forget is probably one of the sillier things in it, beside the, you know, blowing the skating guy backwards, was at the end, Clark goes back to that diner
Yeah. Oh
and
God.
beats the crap out of that 75-year-old
I
guy.
I completely forgot about that.
I've been working out.
Yeah. It's just like
you know
yeah, it seems so out of character for him that like he would bother
yeah
getting revenge on that guy. Like I don't know.
yeah
This was
yeah
a what was it, a diner in Alaska?
yeah in Alaska.
It's not
Yeah.
It is, and it's silly and everything, but it's like this guy needs to be taught a lesson for how he treats people. Let me put him in
Yeah,
his
I mean, you
place.
felt
Yeah,
good. Like you felt
Yeah.
good when it happened, and you're like,
yeah.
yeah, this guy is a total, piece of shit. And that happened to him. He didn't permanently damage him. Maybe he broke his hand, but he didn't even break his hand. The guy punched Clark
His
and broke
yeah.
his hand on Clark's
Ah,
chest or something.
it's his stomach, I think. Yeah,
And then I don't understand what happened. Yeah, like he on his abs of steel. Um, and I don't understand what happened with the stool, the diner stool.
oh,
Like Superman turns it real fast. I get that. So the guy
yeah,
rotates, but it goes up.
yeah.
Is it
Well,
like is it because it's screwed in? It's not on ball bearings.
that's
So it's
just
just like a screw, like an exam
that's just supposed to be a
head
little
stool.
a little bit
You
of
know,
just visual humor. I noticed that too when he like did the thing where he spun it. That's not going to happen on a diner stool. They're supposed to be rotating on a fixed axis, but
yeah,
no.
I'm sure.
And yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and it goes up.
yeah, and it goes up. Okay.
And then
Well,
ha ha ha, he makes him sit in food. Whoa, it's like that's I'll get him. I will make him sit in
Does he
pie or
crash into the
something. What the
pinball
hell he was eating?
machine?
yeah, there was
No,
he
and
just
then
destroyed the pinball machine. Yeah.
he pushes him. He sits him on the food.
Hmm.
He sits him on the food.
And he
The
goes,
guy is sitting there. First of all, the entire time, no matter what Superman does, sits him down in the pie, shoves him across the bar into the pinball machine. The guy's standing there holding his hand that's supposed to be horribly broken, yet
yeah.
he's holding it wide open
Yeah.
with his mouth agape, and
Ken, yes, Ken
his expression doesn't change. He doesn't
mhm,
move,
right.
and he's just like, oh.
As a as a
I believe you're in my favorite seat.
Dumb.
what you call it, the
Yeah.
the guy who makes molds for broken bones and shit, you would certainly notice that he's holding his hand open despite the
Yeah.
fact that it's broken.
So I feel that in a way, which is, normal for, it seems, for a lot of these types of movies from this time, is when you want to have a really impactful and memorable villain, you get one of these classically trained, Shakespearean big stage actors that have a storied career, and they've worked with everybody in tons and tons of movies, most of which you've never seen because they were done overseas. But so he was great in the role. He brought, I don't know, I gotta say this every time we talk about Star Trek antagonists, I say the same thing. He brought gravitas to the role, a role that was, in a sense, I almost want to think when he came out of wardrobe for the first time and saw the 1980 jumpsuit that everybody in Studio 54 was wearing the weekend before,
Mhm.
must have been thinking, what have I gotten myself into with this? But it was something that seemed to be common of media at that time. And one thing, getting a little bit away from the subject of talking about Terence Stamp, I did find that the portrayal of the Kryptonian enemies in the Man of Steel movie, the Zack Snyder one, it was just done better. Just it's a matter of the times. Obviously, superhero movies of a more recent era are going to be more complex, which they put that into these characters. But I just enjoyed conceptually the way that they handled them. I felt that Ursa, I loved the fight scenes between Ursa and Superman, especially when they're in the diner, and you get a little bit of that, almost like a old school, like kung fu movie type thing, where she's like insulting his technique as she's beating the crap out of him, showing
Yeah.
him how little of a threat she is to him, that,
Hmm.
teaching a child, which is in a sense what she's doing. And then later, when she's leading an assault against the military that have come to fight against them, And it's great how she does it very systematically, as if you were someone with that type of ability.
Mhm.
You would just like zip to one soldier and break him in half, and then zip to another one, and you would just be like this ping pong, or a
Right.
pinball, just like pinging off different guys, because all you got to do is really just like touch them and slap them to get rid of them. So I liked how they were, you really use the word realistic, but almost like efficient or
Mhm.
practical in the way that they did it. So that was a lot of fun. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I find a lot of times have I find Man of Steel quite a bit of a better movie than most people do. So, but that's one of my favorite things about it, is that
Mhm.
how they handled them, particularly in combat situations. I just enjoyed the way they portrayed them like that. But look, it's just always going to be a classic film. It was 1980.
Mhm.
I was just, you know, stopping being a extremely, extremely young child and going into just being a young child. So it's an indelible memory. One thing I didn't realize, I think at one point they wanted both one and two to be involved in the same movie,
Mhm.
and then they found it was going to be too big, so they had to cut it out. And I think that's why there was that whole preface with Zod in the beginning. When I went back to research on this again, I forgot that they were in the first movie. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about it. I thought that that was the beginning of the second movie, that they did a flashback.
Right.
And then I saw that. And also, one thing I would be remiss if I did not mention is anybody who was alive during around that time, 1980, got to see an infinity mirror. And it was a piece of home decor that everybody seemed to have in one form or another. And I'm
Right.
like, so John, you're smiling. Do you know what I'm talking about with the
I
infinity
it
mirror?
it sounds familiar. I don't know exactly what it is.
Okay, so basically what it was a mirror with a ring of lights in front of it,
Uh-huh.
like little, like almost like Christmas lights, and it was in a frame. So a mirror had a ring of lights in front of it, and then a two-way mirror, like almost like the interrogation
Right. Yeah.
glass,
Yeah.
where on one side it's a mirror, the other side you could see through it. And the see-through part was outward. So you could see through it inside. And what would happen is those Christmas lights would reflect off the mirror behind it.
Mhm.
And then the mirror behind it would be seeing the mirror surface of the two-way glass in front of it.
Oh, I see. I see.
So it
Okay.
would be an infinite tunnel of
Mhm.
these Christmas lights. So depending on how you look at it, sometimes if they had the mirrors aligned a little poorly, it would like kick off. It would kick off to one side the tunnel.
Uh-huh.
But if they had it aligned just right, it would just be this infinite tunnel of lights going into the wall, as
I
it
see.
seemed. So then when they did the Phantom Zone effect of them having that turning prism that always went infinitely, I was like, oh, we have one of those in the
Look, it's an
wall in the
infinity
den.
mirror.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So that's what the infinity mirror is.
that's what it just every time I watch it, I'm like, because of the time I grew up,
Hmm.
and because that thing was everybody had one of those damn things in their house. I don't know if it was in their mind when they made it, but I can't see how it wouldn't. It was one of the most popular things around at the time.
Could be. I mean, that thing was, I thought it was just like a weird special effect that they used because that's
Oh
an
no,
infinity
that
mirror.
was
Uh-huh.
no, that was in the movie, that was, but it just, I'm just saying,
Mm,
it evoked that memory for me.
I
When I
see.
saw
I
it, I was
see.
like, oh, it's the infinity mirror we have hanging up on the wall,
Understood. Understood.
the
Okay.
wooden paneling in our finished garage, because
Finish.
wooden
Finish.
paneling in the 80s,
Right. Well, it was the 80s.
indoor
Ev
wooden paneling.
everything in the 80s was why it was allowed in the Superman movie. Like, you know, these horrible villains using their super freezing breath and trying to kill everyone, and it was perfectly fine. Did you know that in the original cut of the movie, uh, Non actually killed a child? They took it out.
Yes, he kicks. Doesn't he throw him or he kicks
He's
him or
so
something?
the kid tries to escape on a horse,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. He
Zod like
shoot. Yeah,
throws this.
yeah.
This is the weird thing. He throws like the police siren light, and
Yeah.
when he like it hits the kid on the horse, and it explodes for some reason. I don't know why it
Okay.
explodes, but it's yeah. He they took that out of the movie because they, I guess, figured that was taking it a step too far. So, all right, allow me to tell you my perspective of this movie. Now, this movie was released before I was born. I remember watching it. I remember watching, I think, all the movies. I remember watching Richard Pryor in the third movie and thinking he was funny because he was like this weird, scrangly drunk guy. But the second movie, I remember small bits and pieces of it. For example, the cellophane S that he rips off of his chest and he throws onto the guy. I remember thinking it was really cool that the villains had the same power as Superman. I did not realize I did not realize that it was because they were all from the same planet. And the only reason they're even still alive is because they were sentenced to the Phantom Zone right before the planet was destroyed. So it's like, well, shit, man. If they had stayed just a little longer, they would have been destroyed and the second movie never would have happened. Of course, it's all fiction, it doesn't. But now allow me to take a little time to talk about Clark Kent as Clark Kent and Clark Kent as Superman. I love Christopher Reeve's just like rendition of this because he's so good at portraying this clumsy, awkward guy. But, you can't help loving this guy because he's so charming. And, you know, then they show him being Superman, Greg, yes?
Yeah, which I think everybody, it's common knowledge that that was Christopher Reeve's creation of Clark Kent. Because
Okay.
before that, yeah, the George Reeves show and the comic book, hi, I'm Clark Kent. And
I'm Clark Kent.
there's really no difference. This was Christopher Reeve's
Right,
idea.
right.
Yeah.
And like and I would say that it's a very good idea, especially because he's being portrayed as what he's supposed to be, a different character in essence. Obviously, we all know it's the same person who's acting different, but what this means is that Superman is a very good actor. I mean, of course, it's Christopher Reeve being that way, and I've never seen him in anything other than Superman. But it is fun to watch him kind of go back and forth between the two, Clark Kent and Superman, because he goes from this clumsy, lovable person to this very self-assured, like, yes, Ken.
But isn't it uh what's always said is that Clark Kent is playing Superman, but Batman is playing Bruce Wayne.
I would say Superman is playing Clark Kent and
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne is playing Batman.
See, all right, that's I always hear it's like I always heard it's kind of like the other way around that because of how Clark was raised
Hmm.
as a kid and then knowing that he's Superman, but he's Clark Kent. That's what he grew up with. That's who he is.
I mean, I find
But
it,
and they always say
yeah.
that like Batman, I think because I think that's the way they had Christian Bale play it was
Mm.
that he's Batman, but he has to play it being Bruce Wayne. Or
I
maybe what's his face? Twilight does it even better, but
Oh,
I find it,
that's a whole other
yeah,
conversation, but I
yes,
do
yes,
right.
yes.
think that Bruce and Batman are one and the same,
Yeah,
Yeah,
whereas
well,
others,
that's
they're
why
kind
they're
of
so
they're
drawn
kind
to
of the
each other all the
same.
time. That yeah,
yeah.
they know that it's the same
The
situation for
the only
both of them.
the only difference being that, in later renditions, Batman talks like this and Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
talks more normally, but really they are kind of the same, I would say. I mean, But if that's actually Clark Kent and he really is stumbly and he really is, awkward and fidgety and, like laughs at himself and giggles and blah blah blah, and then he's able to become this cool, suave person that he isn't, I feel like that it's easier to believe that his natural personality is normal and self-assured, and then he's playing someone who's stumbly and awkward and silly and funny like that. But yeah, that's just me. I still believe that he is actually Superman, and he was just raised to know how to act around people. Um, so yeah, the movie, I don't know if this happens in all four movies, but like Clark Kent is kind of only featured in the beginning of the movie, and then he's nothing but Superman, or the depowered Superman who now just looks like Clark Kent. Uh, but yeah, I like his rendition of Clark Kent. I think he's a good actor for being able to pull that off. Being able to pull off, first of all, the two personalities in the same movie, but also being able to pull off that it is the same person and it's believable. I like that. The kind of back and forth, almost like a spy, like I have a cover, and this is my cover, but when I'm talking to my colleagues, I'm normal. Um, but that's just my opinion of Clark Kent and, Christopher Reeve's rendition of it. I really liked Terence Stamp's rendition or portrayal of General Zod. As we have come to realize, this was the first time that we actually develop General Zod as a character rather than just someone who is playing a role in a heist or like, helping people escape. He's actually playing a character. He's the main villain. He's the one who's making things happen rather than being a catalyst. Um, but yeah, like I said, a lot of what I'm saying now is something that I've said before, in that the movie kind of goes back and forth between being serious and straight-laced and goofy and silly. And sometimes the things that happen are goofy when they should be straight. And sometimes, sometimes they're, I don't want to say serious when they should be goofy, but yeah, like I said a lot of it. And the fact that Clark Kent walked to the North Pole is absurd and doesn't make any
It's
sense.
it's it's an odd movie.
Mhm.
It doesn't really have an identity. No play on words intended.
I
Yeah.
would say that a lot of the movie has to do with what are you willing to sacrifice, and like, so I think that you saw a sacrifice that Superman made in giving his powers away. Then he undid that sacrifice. He went, he became Superman, and then he made an even bigger sacrifice by staying as Superman and kissing Lois and making her forget that the whole thing ever happened. I would say that that was a bigger sacrifice because he's giving up the love that he had obtained. And he was like, oh, I love her and I'm willing to give my superpowers up. But then he realized I have a responsibility to basically everyone in the world. And I can't be selfish and, you know, be Lois Lane's love interest, because that's putting her in danger. And that's basically, it's just way too complicated. So I'm going to make her forget it. Originally, that was supposed to be Superman reversed the orbit or the rotation of the planet to turn back time. And I'm watching this saying I didn't see the movie, but like like doing my research on the history of the movie, reversing the orbit of the planet would not only not turn back time because that's not how time works, right? But people would be dead if you
It would
actually
literally
if
kill
it would
everybody on the
literally
planet.
kill
Yeah.
if the planet stopped rotating, everyone would be dead. Now add to that reversing the rotation. Yeah, forget it. And now the sun rises in the west and sets in the east? Is that what we're meant to believe, or does he put the rotation back into normal? I don't know. Look, I spent a lot of time talking to Flurfs, and it's you know, this whole discussion just becomes very very engaging for me. But anyway,
Look, John,
yeah,
it's not gravity, it's density, right?
it's obviously density and
Yeah, of course, of
right,
course.
right. And the way that we can tell that gravity is the only thing responsible for weight is because gravitas, as you had mentioned before, means weight.
Yes.
And that's all you need
Yeah.
to know. So therefore
See.
gravity is not real. All right. That has been our discussion on Superman 2. My next movie viewing may or may not be Superman 3 and then possibly Superman 4. I don't know if it
No,
gets if it
don't
gets
watch please don't watch Superman 4. Please, for
don't
the
do it to
love
yourself. Don't do it
of
to yourself.
all that is refreshingly holy,
Oh
do
my.
not watch Superman 4. Please.
We have to
Please.
wait. Okay. All right. You know
I
what?
did Superman 4 years ago. That was the first podcast I ever did with Nick. That was Happiness and Darkness. I did Superman 4. I met Nick and did that.
Oh, and how did you like it, Greg?
Well, I mean, it's obviously garbage, but it still has that nostalgia factor for
Right,
me.
right, right. I don't
I
know if
still
I've ever
watch it,
seen it.
and I still watch it and have a good time. And it's, of course, it's still Christopher Reeve, and it's just like, damn, it's just always good to see him as Superman.
It's so
And
good to see you.
you know what I thought was really good is that Superman Returns was that Brandon Routh did a really good Christopher Reeve. Like
Yeah.
Ah,
that's like when I was watching the movie, I wasn't saying, "Oh, he's a really good Clark Kent." I was like, "He's a really good Christopher Reeve." Like the whole
I
thing, I'm like, "This is great." It
I
was a
wonder if
love letter to him in so many ways. It was great.
I wonder if that's a good thing though. You know, like is this a don't you want to have your own portrayal of
It I don't know,
you
it
know?
worked, you know,
Eh,
it worked, and
I gotcha.
it was fun, and it felt comfortable.
Look,
Okay.
I mean, first of all, Brandon Routh, personality wise, is very similar to this Christopher Reeve Clark Kent.
Mhm.
That's one. Two, it was that same universe.
Ah,
So, well, kind of.
Yeah,
It's as if
yeah,
it was the sequel to the Donner Cut, actually.
yes.
And so he said, okay, look, this whole movie's to honor Christopher Reeve practically.
all right.
So let's do it.
Yeah. No, I get you. And before I
I mean, it
forget,
was definitely after. It was before he passed, but it was after the
after
The
the
accident.
accident.
accident,
Yeah.
right? Now, before I forget, uh, I wanted to express confusion as to why Non sounded like a roaring bear. Why didn't he just grunt like a person? He was always like, "Rrr!" But like he sounded like a bear. He didn't sound like a person doing that.
Yeah, there was a lot of like voice effects
Yeah.
going on what he did. It was all I can say is 80s.
And he even sounded that way after he lost his powers at the end. Because he tried to fly and then he was like doing the whole bear
Yeah.
roar thing. All right.
I
Well,
love him in Dragnet.
yeah.
He is in
Um
the Dan
was it what
Aykroyd Dragnet.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Emil
Emo
Muzz.
Muzz.
Emil
Emil
Muzz.
Muzz. Emil
Muzz.
Muzz.
Yes.
I've been sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I suppose that's that. Any closing thoughts?
Just Terence Stamp was amazing, and that's it.
Terence Stamp is amazing. Christopher Reeve is amazing.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Margot Kidder, I don't much care for her portrayal of Lois Lane. I found her to be annoying. I found her voice to be uh not
Yeah.
great. I don't know.
Flinty. Flinty.
She's like, "Hey
Flinty.
Superman, come on, let's go for a fly. Let's go fly around the neighborhood." Anyway,
And well, if you notice, he's always checking her lung condition because of all the cigarettes. That's part of what's going
yeah.
on there.
I found her to be naggy. I found her to have a very irritating voice, and I found her to just be like, why couldn't they hire someone better as Lois Lane? Now, I'm going to talk about the most recent Superman movie where they hired Rachel Brosnahan, who was obviously famous for playing Maisel. She was an amazing Lois Lane. She was great. She was incredible. This is the kind of thing like she's hard hitting. She doesn't let you get away with bullshit, but she doesn't you don't want to throw her through the window every time she talks. That's just, my my 2 cents on it. You guys like Margot Kidder as Lois Lane?
I don't want to
I
say it. I don't want to say it, but also not attractive enough as
You know
Lois Lane.
what? The
she
attractive,
was
yeah,
she was like an it girl at the time.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I
However,
think just a couple of years before that, she had been like Playboy Centerfold or something
you
like
know,
that.
I will say,
Mm-hmm.
however, I mean, she's fine. I'm so neutral to her, really. But
Yeah.
whenever you see audition tapes, I can't recall seeing Lois Lane audition tapes, but like,
Mm.
so Star Wars, for example, you see other Han Solos, and they're great actors like Tim Matheson and Christopher Walken and many others, Kurt Russell,
I think Kurt Russell,
uh,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and Gary Cole, reading for Han Solo, and Harrison Ford was nothing more than a reader, and you hear him, and it's like, yeah, that's Han Solo. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Luke Skywalker. I think the only other one was William Catt that they show read for Luke, and it's just there's something in the auditions, and there's a lot of elements that go into casting.
Uh-huh.
Princess Leia, same thing. I know one of them was Cindy Williams, and there were some other ones. There's just
Yeah.
something in the cat, and whatever they were going for with Lois, with this one, obviously, I guess Margot Kidder met their vision. But once she's in four, and she had of all of her problems, it's just like, wow, this drugged out, like wow, she's
Mm-hmm.
bad. She's really,
Well,
really bad. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about what the actress became because okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they hired her in the first place, I saw her in the first movie and then the second movie, and I just said, you know what, man? Like, yeah, she's iconic now as Lois Lane, but back then they were just like, who would best fit this role? And I said, she's just not it, man. She's not because I'm watching and again, I can't get through how irritating her voice
But
is.
same goes for maybe different reasons. I did not
Mhm.
care for Amy Adams in the least as Lois Lane. There's one thing, you could do things well. You could be a good actress, which I do believe Amy Adams is.
Right, yeah.
Not Lois Lane or
She's
Kate
yeah,
Bosworth.
okay.
I think with Rachel Brosnahan, they might have finally, product wise, look wise, and personality wise, they may have finally gotten the right Lois Lane on screen. I still haven't watched that movie though. I will very
It's
soon.
it's excellent. Now, to
I have
be
seen parts of it, and I have
right.
no comment on that though.
To be perfectly frank, Superman is not one of my favorite superheroes. This is coming from someone who very much enjoys reading superhero comics and all that stuff. Superman is among my less favorite of the superheroes that I actually like. Um, Amy Adams, though, brilliant in Enchanted, fabulous. Maybe not the best Lois Lane. I don't know. I don't remember, but you know. Um, okay. Well, that's all I have to say about that, Tom Hanks. People are looking at me like they expect me to say something, guys. I've been talking for the last 2 hours. What do you want me to say? Why do you want me to keep talking? No. So, all right. I guess we should get into plugs now, which Ken, you desperately need. No, I'm just joking. I'm kidding. I'm messing around.
I think I just got that.
You just got it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Ken,
Yeah.
where can you be found?
Well, apart from the stuff that you're going to say later on,
Mm-hmm.
you can find me as one of the co-hosts of Star Trek: The Undiscovered podcast, moving into our fourth season, and we're going to be doing some very reckless and unfunny things. So you
Oh.
should really just, come on in to watch us make fools of ourselves. No, seriously, it's going to be great. We have some great guests lined up. We have some new things that we're going to try, which is going to be fun. I think I'm not going to say what it is so that you're encouraged to come and check it out for yourselves. We've expanded our group. We have a whole, a great deal more of contributors. I'm not saying that in the most articulate way. And it's going to be fun to see everything that we have coming up in the next season. And Greg is not allowed to be on any of the episodes. So there.
Yeah.
No,
Which
as
I know someone who's
showrunner,
happy about that.
no, I'm technically still right. I'm technically still the showrunner right now, up until after Star Trek Day, because we've got 2 more bonus shows that I'm planning. If any come in at all, that's going to be Ken and Jeff's thing. But yeah, that last guy just had got to go. That last showrunner just had to go.
Terrible.
But I'm excited about it too because it needed new blood and a new direction for it to go on. Veering away from the film, and well, first of all, there was no more films. It was the end of the era, and so it's going on to talk about different subjects. And I think what Jeff has planned is going to be great, and I'm still going to be behind the scenes. And I am going to do a one guest, at least one, or only one guest moderating job next season. And I don't see how I could stay off the "let's really get John Seymour this time" episode.
Oh, yeah, no, you got to be there for that.
Yeah, I have to be. Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna be.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
then
Now,
you're
John, if you
yeah.
thought you had a tough time with some of the things that we showed,
We're
maybe
gonna
watched
find it.
beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is like, oh my God, it's going to be glorious to see what we do to you.
So I want everyone to be well aware you are currently on a podcast called This Podcast is Lamb Chops. Now, if there's anyone who knows how to find shitty media and force people to talk about it, you're looking at him right here. That's me right here.
Right. And
So,
we're gonna
yes.
we're gonna pick a Star Trek episode that is far beyond anything. The thing is we're building it up and building it up, but that was the plan this past season,
Right.
and we didn't do it. But that's why we're doing it again.
You're doing it again because I picked the least awful of the
Out of the hat,
awful
yeah.
picks. And I didn't know any of those episodes. So, that was really by chance. So I will say once again that I was disappointed by how not awful the episode was.
Right.
So give me another chance here. Let me watch a terrible one. And we'll go again on. So anyway.
I do want to say once again, congratulations, John, on your 50th episode. I want to say this is very interesting, Ken, that as we record this episode right now, it is Kyle Bain's birthday. So happy birthday, Kyle Bain.
Happy birthday, Kyle Bain.
This is very interesting. In doing that, Star Trek The Undiscovered podcast posted today Kyle Bain's debut episode, which is a milestone episode because it is what brought Kyle into Star Trek. It's the first one with him and his introduction to Star Trek, which was The Undiscovered Country. And it's a milestone in many ways. But here's what's interesting about it. At the top of that show, Ken is being congratulated for taking over in the 4th season for MSV podcast, which never happened.
Never happened.
But how interesting it was that that's the episode that was posted today because it's Kyle's birthday. And Ken now is set to co-take over the 4th season of Star Trek The Undiscovered podcast, which is happening, but that was the episode that was Kyle's first one, which was Ken was going to take over MSV, and that never happened. But and then another thing about Star Trek and Terence Stamp, what a missed opportunity that Terence Stamp was never in Star Trek. He would have been excellent in any rendition of Star Trek. So here are my plugs. Greg Vorob, VOROB. Find me at YouTube at Greg Vorob. And people, I am getting pissed off. You might think, I don't want to check out Greg's silly movies, but really, they're good. Check out YouTube at Greg Vorob. I'm getting very peeved from people that should be checking it out but aren't. Trust me on this and check it out. There's brilliance on there. On Facebook, add me at Greg Vorob or like the page that's for my acting, even though it's a little dormant. Doesn't matter. Like Greg Vorob. I am now doing what those kids do, those crazy millennials, and I'm on Instagram. Find me there at Greg Vorob. Yeah. Blue Sky at Greg Vorob. Podcast, of course, we just, the aforementioned Star Trek The Undiscovered podcast. There are, however, 2 more bonus shows coming out. One on September 3rd, and then we have the big Star Trek Day special on September 8th. Tune in for that, people. And then that is my last one as showrunner and main moderator, and I will be handing the reins over to Ken here and Jeff Howell. And then, of course, Real Reactions with Greg and Kyle. That's REEL. That is the monthly podcast I do with Kyle Bain, where we talk about underrated movies and review them. Both of the people here has been on that show. John and Ken, you could look for their episodes. And that's, of course, REEL Reactions. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. And find us on Facebook at Real Reactions with Greg and Kyle with the REEL. Blue Sky, Real Reaction Pod. And on X, Real Reactions Pod. And those are the mouthful of my plugs.
All right. Okay, so this is me now. I have plugs. John Seymour on Facebook, JON space SEYMOUR. This podcast, which is called This Podcast is Lamb Chops, which is a subsidiary of the Bullshit Hour podcast. It is on the Bullshit Hour platform. So don't be confused when you open the Bullshit Hour platform and find This Podcast is Lamb Chops, because I'm not editing the picture again. So that's me on this podcast. There is also the Hour of Comics is Upon Us, which is something that I very much have been enjoying doing with Jason Gurin and someone else. I forget his name. Oh, this guy, Ken Radner. Ken Radner is on the Hour of Comics is Upon Us. I play drums in a band called My Haunted Past, and we're playing a gig November 8th. That's in a few months. Ken, it will be more or less local to you, but I'm not sure what the venue is going to be just yet. But keep November 8th open, everyone, to come out and see My Haunted Past playing some fabulous music. Lara had
he really sucks.
It's terrible. Lara,
he's excellent. No, folks, if you're in the area,
John's
you're
an incredible drummer.
Fan.
It's ridiculous.
He's an amazing drummer. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, thanks, guys. I'll pay you later. Okay. So
he can do the tricks with the sticks, and that's not when he's playing drums.
Oh,
that's a little thing we do in the parking lot.
Oh,
anyway.
Oh my, yes. Well, Lara had a little mishap. She was supposed to come out to the Lucy's gig. We had gone to see Hugh Jackman earlier in the day. We went we went in my car, and she, I guess, needed to get something from her car. She left her keys in my car by mistake. So when I dropped her off at home and went out to the venue to play my gig, she calls me and she goes, "So bad news, you have my keys and I can't get there." So yeah. That was a fun time. But the show was great. There is video on my Facebook page of the show. Ken has insisted now that I've been playing it too slow to offset how fast it was the last time. And that's the size of it. The band's name is Chris Cyanide. The other band is My Haunted Past. Find them both on YouTube. And that's all. There's no more to that sentence. All right. And so with that, I will say thank you, Greg, and thank you, Ken, and good night. And we will see you next time.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
And let's go now.
Yeah, you should. You should. No, I'm just going to say, like, you should seem like, be like, what? Who are you? Like, because you've never seen me before. And then
I might have seen him before.
Or you could just be like, what? Barnaby? You know, like
right, exactly.
Yeah. Like you're still somehow surprised at this point, but
Well, I know. Well, it says John Seymour invited you to.
Right.
You know,
True.
from the-
Okay.
All right.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Oh, give me a frickin' break, Barnaby. What are you doing here?
Oh, Greg, I see you've fallen into my booby trap.
I am doing a podcast with John because Terence Stamp unfortunately passed on, and we're going to do a tribute to him by talking about Superman 2. That is correct.
Amazing stupendo as well.
Sure.
I'm, s- I don't know. All right. Okay. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can pick
don't
up
worry.
right from that. So,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
don't worry.
So, without the laughing, just be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. This had better be the last time I ever have to hear your terrible grating voice on a podcast. Seriously, I've never heard a voice like that.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty grating.
I got to get to mispronouncing something. It's just so much fun to.
Well, get to the breakfast now, and
Right.
then you want to listen to one of John's podcasts, and there I am.
Ah, okay. Yes, that's
This
a
has
good
been
idea.
a great one, though, that you'll
I
be able to edit. Yeah.
because I can actually, I tried this, I tested it, and I'm like, oh, Barnaby actually sounds clear. You can hear.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So where do we leave? I say, you better not be in a podcast again. You terrible grating voice. It's awful. And then you say,
My voice is pretty grating, I said. Yeah.
my voice is pretty grating. You'd be like, okay, I am in 100% argument about your terrible grating voice.
Hey, I was always wondering, when you go to the restroom, do you say, I'm going to go take a Greg? You didn't like that? Okay.
That's good. That's good.
All right. All right.
All right. Okay. All right. Do you say I'm going to take a Greg? Hey, you know what? That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You want me to say that again?
No, I can work with it.
Because we're going to work. Yeah. 'Cause we're gonna ease off. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Actually, you know what? Yeah. Go ahead and say it.
All
again.
right. Yeah. I always was wondering, Barnaby, I would actually be pretty honored if you do this. When you go to the restroom, do you say, I am going to go take a Greg?
Do I say I'm going to take a Greg? No. Even the most vile, disgusting things that come out of a person's body don't deserve to be called a Greg. Okay. I think we should start.
Yeah,
wrapping it up.
I was just about to do that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Barnaby, this has been great as usual, but I have to get into the actual invite that I just received from John for the Terence Stamp Memorial. And it was been great talking to you as always, but I do have a feeling I will probably see you again soon.
Oh my God. What a terrible thought to see Greg again. Again. Why do I do this to myself? I keep talking to you on purpose. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm got. And by this point, I'm cut.
And there's cut. Yeah. All right. Great.
Okay.
That's a cut and print. That was great.
Beautiful.
It
Excellent.
was one of the best Barnabys. Yep.